On this video, we are going to go through the 3 foods that are inflammatory and cause women to gain weight and build disease. These are literally 3 foods. If I could knock on everybody's door and say, stop eating these would be the 3 because they are killing you and they are causing you to gain weight. First, if you're struggling to lose weight, I really want you to think this through. I've said this a ton on my channel on YouTube, on my podcast. What we really need to do is rebrand weight, because weight is not happening to you because you have poor genetics. Gaining weight is not happening to you because you were undisciplined. When your body gets exposed to food that it doesn't know what to do, food or toxins that it doesn't know what to do with, it stores it as fat. So it's actually an adaptive mechanism of your body to save your life. And the first place it will store it is around the belly. For women, it'll go in the breasts. It goes the back of the arms, goes around the face. And so instead, it's smart. And it puts it there first instead of putting it around your liver, your heart, and your lungs where it'll kill you. So knowing that, then we have to sort of ask the body like, hey, body, what don't you like that you're storing? Instead of looking in the mirror and being like, wait a second, how'd I gain so much weight? I don't like the way I look, and shaming yourself. Could we get curious about what the body is storing? And here are the 3 things I can guarantee you it is storing. So the first is your deep fried foods. Where are my French fry fans out there? I will tell you, I'm a French fry fan. That's hard to say. And I'm a sweet potato fry fan, and I will have them every once in a while just so we all know that we're all human here. But I really like to make them in my home so I can put them with the right oils, which we'll talk about here in a moment. But most deep fried foods are inflammatory and they are synthetic, like partially hydrogenated oils are really interesting because they have been proven to create cardiovascular disease and contribute to heart attacks. We figured this out about a decade ago, and we were supposed to, hopefully this is going to happen, take partially hydrogenated oils out of every food product by 2025. So hopefully that is happening. But these toxic oils, a lot of them get heated up and manipulated. And if you ever took a chemistry class when you were growing up, these little molecules get reorganized, and they can reorganize themselves into a product that the body doesn't know what to do with. It can't break it down. So if we just look at like the molecular formula of olive oil compared to the molecular formula of cottonseed oil, your body doesn't know how to handle that molecular formula of cottonseed oil, so it stores it, whereas olive oil, it knows how to pull those carbon molecules apart and start to break it down. So during the deep frying process, like when you actually heat these oils up, not good. The carbs reduce into sugar and they bind to this synthetic fat, or worse yet, maybe to protein like fried chicken or fish and chips, which, oh my gosh, fish and chips is like the worst thing you can eat. And this process of reducing the carbs and binding to fat and protein is a process that's called advanced glycation end products, or AGEs. Now, glycation is a really interesting topic here because many of you have heard me talk about hemoglobin A1C and how important it is to bring your A1C levels down. Well, hemoglobin A1C is measuring the glycation that's going on within the body. And glycation looks like this. You have these cells, they're called red blood cells, that are streaming throughout your whole body and are delivering oxygen to your tissues to keep your brain bright and your tissues working well. When you get too many carbohydrates in your system, too much sugar, too many of these bad fats, they gum up these red blood cells, and the red blood cells cannot bring or deliver the oxygen to the different tissues. So if you don't get oxygen to tissues, your brain degenerates, your body degenerates, your joints degenerate. This is where aging starts. So this advanced glycation that is happening from this horrible deep frying food is not just causing you to gain weight, but it's speeding up aging. And when we heat these horrible oils up, we are getting this high heating method is making this situation even worse because of the breakdown of carbohydrates. So according to a 2008 study in the Journal of Neuroscience, these AGEs, these advanced glycation end products, that they're causing a challenge when it comes to your brain. So this is something called cross-linking, which is when you get fused proteins together and you make them very stiff and ineffective. So those of you that are like trying to power up on your protein, if you're doing it with fried protein, you're actually not helping yourself. And we have seen that when these proteins come together, that they will go up into the brain and they will start to create not just cellular damage, but they will start to create inflammation. This can even happen in your eyes. This can happen in your arteries. This can happen in your skin. We also have another review, a 2017 review in Pharmacology and Therapeutics, that found these AGEs are the leading cause of inflammation and a major contributor to long-term disease. They also found that it accelerated situations like IBS, inflammatory joint and muscle pain, and degenerative brain disease like Alzheimer's. So we really want to start thinking about removing all fried food out of your diet unless you're going to change the oil, and we'll talk about it here. More studies. Journal of Cardiovascular Research said that AGEs promote vascular inflammation, which increases your risk of cardiovascular disease, high blood pressure, and stroke, that it's increasing diabetes and aging, and you're you know when you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh, I'm stiff. Like, whenever that happens to me, this is a really interesting trick. Whenever I wake up in the morning, I'm like, oh, I don't feel so good, or I'm not feeling my best today. I always go back to the day before and I go, what did I eat last night? What did I eat during the day? Because it may have been something that I had that day that's making me feel so stiff and achy. So think about that, and fried food should be taken off your list. Okay, number two. Number two is refined sugar. So a lot of people don't realize this. Refined sugar isn't just, oh, I'm going to go after this one sugar company. Yep, I'm going to do it. CNH, it's not just a CNH sugar, but it can be agave. Sometimes it can be coconut sugar. Sometimes it can be maple syrup. So a lot of these are inflammatory. So refined, when we talk about refined, I want to stop for a moment so that you guys can make sure that you keep making good choices when it comes to food. Refined just means they've taken the original thing and they've milled it down into this simple substance. So coconut sugar, they've taken a coconut, which is so healthy, and they've heated it up and processed it and brought it down into the most simple form possible. This usually is a challenge. We want to keep things in its original form as much as possible. So a note on that refined piece. So there's a 2002 study in Circulation that found that spikes in blood sugar that come from this refined sugar cause rapid release of cytokines, or inflammatory molecules that cause stress and cellular damage. And this can set off an inflammatory reaction that lasts for several hours. And the more sugar you have, the worse it gets. There's a 22 study in a Frontiers in Immunology that found it increases inflammation in the brain and body. So if you want to think right, let's get off the refined sugar. 23 study in Journal of Alzheimer's and Disease that looked at diets and brain function of over 700 older adults over an 8-year period. And they found that those who ate the most sugar had more than twice as many dementia cases compared to those who ate no sugar. Like I'm not joking when these 3 things I'm telling you are life-changing. And then a 22 nutritional neuroscience study looked at 38,000 older women and found similar results, that higher sugar intake you had a much higher incidence of Alzheimer's. I mean, the studies go on and on and on. Let's get off sugar. Okay, third thing to avoid so that you don't gain weight and you don't end up in this metabolic mess that so many people are finding themselves in is let's avoid the vegetable oils. So just because it has the word vegetable in it doesn't mean it's good. In fact, it's the opposite. Remember, vegetable oil is an oil that has been refined. Now you know what refined means. It has been broken down. And when it comes to healthy fats, what ends up happening is it breaks down, these vegetables break down into high omega-6 oils. Now, this is really important. In your body, you have a balance of omega-3 and omega-6 oils that are really important. And so if we slant more omega-6, we get inflammation. If we stay balanced between omega-3 and omega-6, we get health. So if we're eating a lot of vegetable oil, sugar, and deep fried foods, we're slanting our body more towards omega-6. This is where maybe taking some fish oil, bringing in the fish oil, if you're eating a diet like that, is going to help to bring the balance back. But better than that, save yourself some money and just get off these 3 things. You get off these 3 things, and now you naturally slant yourself back. There was a hallmark study published in Biomedical Pharmacotherapy that found that humans evolved with a 1-to-1 ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 fats in our diet. They need to be equal. So another way of saying this is if you're going to have some French fries, have it with your wild salmon. How about that? Because now you're bringing in high omega-3 with the bad omega-6s.
You want to know the foods that will support hormones? Guess what? I have them for you already. It's a free giveaway. Just click the link below and I'll send you a list of all the foods that support amazing hormonal health.
So how do you know if an oil is an omega-6 oil? This is really what we want to avoid. I also want to encourage you, if you're intrigued in this topic, go check out a Resetter podcast that I did with Dr. Kate Shanahan. And it's all about omega-6 oils and what it does to us. It increases hunger. It gains weight. There's disease. I mean, she'll blow your mind. So you can go check that out. We'll leave links wherever you're consuming this video, or if you're consuming it on the Resetter podcast, I'm sure we'll keep a link for you. But these are the oils you want to avoid: canola, soybean, corn, peanut, sunflower. Now, I do want to point out sunflower and safflower oils are very controversial. A lot of people are like, wait, I thought those were good oils. Well, again, let's make sure that they are virgin, meaning they haven't been manipulated. So like when you see extra virgin olive oil, that means we really just picked it from the tree and pressed it. Whereas if it's just olive oil, they've refined it down, maybe added something to it so it would go longer for profits. Speaking of profits, vegetable oils are cheap. They are easy to produce, and you'll find them hiding in every processed food because those companies are not interested in your health. They're interested in hijacking your taste buds and keeping you coming back for more. So that is great for business. That is horrible for your health. If you cut out vegetable oils and you start to replace them with the healthy oils, like from wild fish or fatty fish, you will start to see a massive reduction in inflammation. And think of it like this. You should start to feel like your joints move better, you move better, your brain thinks better. These are all signs that that omega-6 and omega-3 balance is coming back. We also have a 2008 review found that as people's omega-6 to omega-3 ratio improved, their inflammatory problems improved. And we see this in asthma. So whoever thinks of like bad oils causing asthma. But this review, I'll leave the link for it in here, it did absolutely find that. They also found that if you increased your good omega-3s and you decreased your omega-6s, it suppressed inflammation. This really made a difference for people in this study with rheumatoid arthritis. And when we look at these ratios, most Americans have a 16-to-1 ratio of 16 times more omega-6s than omega-3s. That's crazy. This is why we're so sick. So we need to be able to get that number down to a 1-to-1. So pull this junk out, please. So when do we ever take omega-3s? And we have plenty of studies that show that omega-3s make the membrane around the outside of your cells very permeable, so that you can get the good stuff into the cell and the bad stuff can get out of the cell. Whereas if we are also into eating too many of these oils and sugar, we're starting to see that it makes the outer membrane rigid. This is so important, because if the cellular membrane is rigid, you can take all the vitamin D you want. You can eat all the great food you want. You can do anything that putting on the outside, and you can take all the hormones you want. And they can't get into the cell because the membrane is brittle. That is how important these oils are. We got to make your cells, turn them into more of a flexible place where the nutrients and the hormones and all the neurotransmitters, all the good stuff can get in, and the toxins that the cell is trying to get rid of can get out. Now, beyond just cellular health and weight loss and cardiovascular health, I do want to give a shout out to my women that are still cycling, that we are also finding if you increase omega-3s, that those fatty fishes, again, list upon lists and Eat Like a Girl, but that they've decreased period crampings for women. So what foods are you going to eat to increase these omega-3s? I already said one, salmon. Second one is mackerel. There is a great recipe for mackerel, for these fatty fishes in general, that I'm going to tell you. There's a great recipe in Eat Like a Girl. It's a sardine, which is my third thing to tell you, sardines. It's a sardine tostada that is so good. And I don't love these fatty fishes. So we've got salmon, we've got mackerel, we've got anchovies, we've got sardines, and we've got herring. And I think a lot of you are like, that doesn't sound great. So you can also take some omega-3 oils. Just make sure they are a good brand. And I would also say that sometimes we eat stuff because they're healthy, not because they're tasty. So plop a sardine in your mouth, swig it with water, and watch your body flourish. Okay, last 3 questions. Are certain foods more inflammatory for women than men? That's a really good question. You know, after studying the female body so deeply for so long, especially when it comes to lifestyle, I really have to say that women are very sensitive to our environments. So anything that appears as a threat is going to shut down our reproduction or alter it, and is going to create an inflammatory response. So all the foods that I talk about on here to avoid the fatty foods, the refined flours, the chemicals, unfortunately are going to be more detrimental to women than to men, because our bodies were meant to sense trouble. And if there is trouble coming in, or we're in a stressful environment, our whole hormonal system will shut down. The other thing that I would say is the processed foods are packed with estrogen mimickers, which are chemicals that your body thinks is estrogen. So it invites it into the cell, but then once it gets into the cell, it actually doesn't act like estrogen. And so what ends up happening is it shuts your own estrogen production. And so that's a bummer, especially if you're a perimenopausal woman. So we want to make sure that we stay away from those chemical-ridden foods. They will definitely hurt women more than men. But even on those estrogen mimickers, the man boobs, the bloated belly, that's all estrogen. Sorry, men, that's all estrogen that your body didn't know what to do with. And so it stored it in those areas. For women, I mean, for men, that's not as challenging, other than you might not like how you look, but your estrogen is made in the brain. For women, that's a big problem when we're eating these foods that are endocrine disruptors, estrogen mimickers, because it alters your whole hormonal system because your body thinks it's getting estrogen, but it's not an estrogen it can use. Pretty interesting, right? And then the second question was, can intermittent fasting decrease inflammation caused by my diet? And the answer is yes, hell yes, it can. This is why I love fasting. Because when I do these videos to teach you food, it's just so complicated and we've got to overturn habits. I still want you to do that, but fasting is so much easier. So much easier, and it will bring that inflammation down. After years and years and years of a poor diet, it will definitely make a difference. I've seen it over and over and over again. So yes, the answer is hell yes. And then question number 3, what oils or fats should I use instead of oils like canola and vegetable? I can tell you, for me, I use a very high quality olive oil. I try to get the highest quality. Sometimes it's the most expensive. So if you can afford that, that is a health, think of it like a supplement. You're buying a high quality supplement. Avocado oil is a go-to oil. Again, make sure it's a good quality one. Those are my 2. I do MCT oil in my coffee in the morning. I will do a little bit of coconut oil here and there. Grass-fed dairy is a go-to, and avocados and avocado oil. So in all my books, I have lists. In Eat Like a Girl, I have the most amount of lists. So know that that's available to you as well. Okay, let me know. We're going to do a fun one on this. Whether you are a podcast listener or you're on YouTube, if you're a podcast listener, leave me a review. That would be awesome. I'd appreciate that. And then in your review, let me know what your favorite good fat is. And if you're watching this on YouTube, let me know. What's your favorite good fat? How do you use it? So that we can get the conversation around good fats going. Okay, as always, don't give up on yourself. The food industry is in cahoots with Big Pharma. They are all trying to keep us sick. Profits matter more than people, and you have the control to change that by getting yourself educated. So I hope that this video, or if you're listening to it on audio, I hope that it helped. And no, I'm cheering you on. Okay, if you loved this video, you're going to want to check out the next video of my food series. On this video, want to talk about the healthy foods that you might be eating that will stop you from a long and healthy life.